Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dinner time is here. That's right, we're talking about episode 6 of season 3, Dolce, on Dish by Dish. Well, greetings and salutations, and that's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from beautiful Florence, Italy. This is Dish by Dish, a Kill by Kill side project where we watch an episode of Hannibal, and then, unlike any other podcast, we talk about it. I mean, buckle up. We're really breaking the fort. I went for a joke, and I don't think I came anywhere near it. So, of course, there's only one person I trust, that if I'm staggering bloodied through the streets of Florence, she'll make sure to shoot me in the shoulder for fucking reasons. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How you doing?
I am doing well. I have some questions about this episode.
I have all questions. I am confounded by not only what I have seen, but I'm at a loss. I know I watched this once upon a time, but there's a bunch of stuff that I ended up stamping on my bingo card. I did not see coming, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I seem to have memory hold this.
I will warn people that if you have a needle phobia, do not watch this episode or the next episode. Because there's some nice juicy close-ups of needles entering the inside of various people's elbows.
Yes, yeah, and don't take an edible because you will freak the fuck out. This episode 6 is entitled Dolce, which is sweet in Italian. It's often associated with desserts. So one must ask, who will get their just desserts this week? We'll only find out when we start talking about you. And of course, we begin this episode of Hannibal, bath already in progress. Gina, if you saw a blood-covered dude just walking the street of Florence, would you alert the authorities? No one in town seems to think this is strange.
Well, I live in New York, so occasionally you do see people who, look a little worse for wear, let's say. And generally speaking, I don't call the authorities. Now, if they look like they're covered in someone else's blood, then right, maybe I will. But if I see just somebody staggering out of an alley with head wounds and scratches on his face, I do the whole, that's a YP, I am going to stay far away from that.
It really is quite the YP for Hannibal. He got his ass handed to him by Jack, who manages to come out of that encounter pretty much intact. That can't be said for the rest of the episode. That being said, he really should have clocked Hannibal harder. I guess you throw somebody out a window, you expect them to maybe not get up. But Hannibal's like, oops, I'm a cat. I landed on my feet. And he kind of just walks away.
Well, the theme of this episode and the next is people taking an impossible amount of physical abuse and just being fine. Several scenes later, these characters get shot. They get beaten. Will has his head sawed into, and they're fine. They're okay. You take little sleepy. They rest for a while, and then they're all right.
Before we get to that, of course, Will wanders in, and to Jack, and they're like, oh, hey, you're here. Yeah, you're both here near this on the loose cannibal. Neither of you calling for the police. Police cannot be trusted. And it turns out that's a good idea because you can't trust the police in Florence, according to Hannibal.
Every single one of them is on the take. I love it. So much on the take that they are okay killing people who, as far as they know, are not really associated with the what they're on the take for. Like that one dude is way too comfy just saying, oh well, just gut this guy, we'll make it look like Hannibal did it.
Just take that bone saw and rip into him. It's like, he didn't do anything to you. Like, why are you relishing this? And the other guy's like, another day, another dollar. Holy shit. I mean, do I find that unbelievable? I guess not. Certainly not on Hannibal, where everyone is capable of murder if you just give them enough time. And that amount of time seems to be 10 minutes.
I love this show, but these next two episodes get real silly.
It is hard to take them super serious because they are entirely delirious in so many respects. They are druggy, they are psychedelic, they are hypnotic, but they don't really illuminate the human condition, because we've gone beyond humans into basically camp serial killer porn.
Who cannot be killed. They like, yes. Will is like, he's not a big guy. He's a very slight guy. He looks like maybe 5'8", 5'9" at the outsides. Sure, but like, again, he gets shot. I mean, this is at least the second or third time he's been shot.
Yes.
He's just regularly beaten. He's had his face carved into, and he's just like, he's barely scarred. Oh yes, he's been gutted at one point.
Oh, yes, several times he's been stabbed. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot for these people to still be ticking and still have their capacities about them. Meanwhile, Bedelia is really taking this shit in stride. And I guess if you're pumping yourself full of drugs every day, maybe that's a way you get past it.
Yeah, she's just like completely unruffled by everything. I mean, I wish I could be like that. That must be especially in this world right now. I wish I could be like that. Just like heroin,
Oh, it's a cocktail of psychotropic drugs. That's an afternoon. And thank goodness for it, I guess. Before that even happens, though, Chio stops by, and am I dumb? Because I don't get her. I don't get this. I don't get it even less the farther it goes on. But Bedelia not only is able to, like, and I've never thought of her as a particularly tough negotiator, but she does manage to get Hannibal to go, yeah, I won't eat you. I mean, you weren't ready for me to eat, I guess, is the compromise they come to.
You haven't been tenderized enough.
Yeah. Have you ever had to confront a roommate and get them to leave?
No, I've actually never had a roommate. Well, no, I have. That's not true. I have had a roommate. No, he left on his own volition, but the situation, as a lot of roommate situations do, got stressful enough that I was on the verge of saying, okay, you got to go. But he luckily just went himself.
There you go. Yeah, I have never had to be the one to confront a roommate. I did. My last roommate who I was not, sleeping with. When I came back from Japan, that's when I said, I don't have a job and I don't have anywhere to be. I'm writing spec scripts. Also, I'm probably going to smoke weed all day, every day. And he wasn't particularly a fan of that. I remember him complaining to somebody on the phone that the trees were blazing when he came home to me one day. And I'm like, oh, it's really that obvious how much weed I smoke? Maybe I should pull back on this. But I didn't have a job,
You basic.
How else are you going to pump out a Law and Order spec script every week, which is what I
you were
did.
you were leaning into that Gen X slacker role.
Yeah. And I'd never done it before. This was my learning curve. I didn't experiment with drugs as a teen or really in any of my 20s. I waited until my 30th birthday to get high. And then I didn't stop for like 6 months, and then I got a job. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. So yeah. And a job in robotics, which does not, you kind of need to be on the ball for that.
Otherwise, you end up like the like one of my favorite bits of trivia, that the first human to be killed by a robot. Where it's literally just like
that robot tried.
It just like swung a big robot hand and just like smashed the guy against a wall. Which, is there any better way to die? I ask you.
Well, I worked with that robot for several months, and it did try to kill me, if not physically, my soul. It did try to kill my soul.
Like, remember the movie I, Robot, where like Will Smith is walking past a bunch of robots, like one of them side eyes him. I just love that.
Robot hater. I mean, when I see Osmo at Disneyland, I do get flashbacks. It's a lot. Like that robot owes me a whole lot, and I really didn't get paid. I left him for a job in television, and I don't regret it at all. I really don't. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, doing drugs. So yeah, Chio comes in and she's like, "Hey, where's Hannibal?" And she's like, "I don't know. I gotta shoot up." And they have what can only be described as a whisper off. Like, speak up. I always watch this now with headphones and the closed captions on, because I don't know, people are competing to be the softest person. Yeah,
nobody, because despite the incredible amount of abuse everybody's bodies take in this, nobody ever screams. Mm-hmm. They just they just look a little stunned, but nobody's like you're sawing into my head, or you shot me, like people they're just like oof, and then they fall down,
There is, Will has a fainting couch level of ability to pass out. Like you pretty much have to fan him, because any amount he'll just curl up into a ball and just lose consciousness.
And then he wakes up in a bed because people scoop him up like a bride. They just carry him to bed like how I'm sure you've done this with Ollie. You guys go on a road trip and you come home and like, all right, we're home. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. A lot. It's a lot harder to do, because I'm going to be looking up at him at junior high school graduation.
Like his legs, you're carrying him. His his feet are like dragging on the ground.
Yes. Every once in a while he'll go, put me on your shoulders or something like that. I'm like, okay. And the last time I did, I'm like, well, okay, I don't feel terrible right now, but this is probably the last time that this happened.
Like put me on your shoulders, dude.
Right. Pick me up. No, he's got noodle arms and noodle legs. So that's going to take a while for that to develop. He just stretched like a pulled taffy so much. He has the same muscle density as pulled taffy as well.
Remember that Bugs Bunny cartoon where like he like does like the he's like flexing and he's got the little his muscles, his arm just kind of like droops down. He just plays with it. Yeah.
That won't be him for long, but that is him right now.
I hope he doesn't listen to this show.
Oh no! Fuck no! Are you kidding me? First of all, he could care less. Second of all, he could care less. Like, he very much likes the idea of people hearing him, but he has zero desire to hear me. I can tell you that from personal experience. Now we go to the other side of the pond and to the Verger residence. And we learn that Cordell has a lot of skills. He is a great nurse. He's a wonderful masseuse. He also appears to have a lot of skills when it comes to medical procedures. Also, he knows how to cook, and in particular, cook human beings, or at least train you to like human beings as something you might eat.
Which is like
where
did it? Sorry, go ahead. Ask your question.
My question to you is: did Cordell put all these skills on LinkedIn?
I was going to ask, where did Mason find him?
This is a real good question. Like, how do you? Do you literally put out a headhunter to find somebody like this? This guy. Like, do you pick this up in casual conversation? Is there a chat room you go to? Cordell's quite a find for Mason.
Yeah, in the book, he was, if I recall, he was just sort of like his nurse, like / bodyguard.
Yes. He was more like a physical villain for a James Bond villain. Like Mason is Goldfinger and Cordell is his odd job. Whereas here he's given all sorts of cunning and skills and abilities that are kind of combining a lot of stuff, because we already used the Italian thug, or I can't even remember where that very natty looking gentleman was from last season. But he was from Hannibal, the book, as well. So once they dispatched him, they kind of had to combine elements, I suppose.
We already brought up a Bugs Bunny reference, but when Cordell is explaining to Mason all the different ways he could prepare Hannibal for eating, when they cut to when he's prepared like a Peking duck, did you think about, like me, did you think about those scenes in Looney Tunes where you have like two people who are really hungry and one guy and
then look at someone he's trusted,
or like they look like a cheeseburger or something, and their nose is a tomato.
They got an apple in their mouth. Yeah.
Yes, folks.
Chef hats on the end of their hands.
I think of Bugs Bunny when I watch Hannibal.
I mean, you wouldn't be wrong, to be honest with you. You would not be wrong. But this episode in particular, Don Mancini came on for season 3, and you can kind of tell the amount of homoerotic jokes start getting upped and upped and upped and upped. And you're like, oh, did Don Mancini? Yeah, he co-wrote this episode. Okay. All right. This makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Cordell and Mason are pretty much like literally licking their lips over the notion of eating wink wink Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. And you know what I can really do without ever hearing, well, you won't after next episode, but I could really do without ever hearing Mason Verger say the word penis again.
Yeah. We gotta save that for the episode 7. But spoiler alert, we're gonna be discussing eating a penis quite a bit coming up. But before we get to that, someone must have fed the hairstylist on set quite a fat tip, because all these girls be in pin curls, and that ain't easy to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's where I have an issue with this episode. If we're getting into Alana and Margot, for number one, Margot, for whatever reason, now looks like a 1940s femme fatale. She's got like the shoulder pads in her shirt. She's got this sort of very heavy makeup, and she's got very, very poofy hair that she did not have before. Yes.
No, someone looked at the American Hustle style guide and said, I want one of those.
And also her and Alana are fucking now. So this is what I said in the chat, where I was like, okay, I feel like I missed something here, where they just kind of meet each other and sort of give each other the eye. But,
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know, Alana has up to this point never gave an indication that she's bisexual.
Mhm.
But man, are they getting it on in this episode? It's like, okay, when did that
Yes.
happen? That now all of a sudden they're lovers, where like in the last episode, okay, we haven't even seen them kiss, and you know, now all of a sudden, not only are they lovers, they're talking about running off together.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't blame either
Oh
of them.
no, absolutely not. I just feel like, you know, that's probably the most normal relationship that Alana's had in a long time. Even though Margot's brother is talking about, you know, planting an incest baby. You know, other than that, you know, it's a, you know, wonderful start to a very, you know, healthy long-term relationship. I just feel like they really skip from like point A to point Z with them and this relationship that they have.
It's weird to say that something on Hannibal isn't taking its time, but this is probably the one incident I can think of where it just, like you said, goes from 0 to psychedelic fuck sesh. It's real fast. Like they were like, hey, you're attractive, which of course both of them are, but they just fall into bed and instantly become, how do we murder some people?
Yeah, so we can be together and you know, leave this all behind us. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I too would want to leave Mason Verger behind me. I wrote down, like, I am not on team Mason's a dad. Like, call me fickle. I don't think he's ready for fatherhood.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, Mason, what are you going to do with your incest baby? It's not gonna be normal.
Yeah, no, it truly is not. I mean, I find it dubious that it is possible for, you know, their sub plan, which does not happen in this episode, is to steal his sperm. But even that is carrying on a lot of Verger. I think the world would be better dying off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, okay, why would you want to keep this line going?
Yes.
I do love how in certain shots, like, because now the shape of his ruined face and that he really doesn't have much of a nose, he almost looks like a snake in certain scenes. And I kind of love that. I think that's very clever.
They're definitely trying to merge him and the eel, which, stay tuned. Speaking of having a baby, was there a couple in your birthing class that when you looked over at them, you thought, oh, that kid is fun?
Yeah. Oh, there's the incest baby.
Yeah.
They look, I mean, it's true that some couples tend to look alike. They look a little too much alike.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one couple where the guy was so disinterested in what was happening that everyone in the class was just like, honey, are you okay? You know, there was a lot. And the one person I thought, well, that's a real weirdo. I got to get to know that guy. Turned out to be Rodney Asher. And he was a weirdo. And I did get to know him. I'm very glad I did. He's like, hey, I made an entire movie about The Shining. I'm like, fuck, what? He brought that up in casual conversation. He had never brought this up before. I've made an entire movie. Do you want to see it? It's a press screening. Yeah, sure. Oh, Rodney. We got to get him back on the show. He's such a great guy.
What were we talking about again?
Fucking Hannibal. There's a lot of dudes at the museum with their faces torn up. When Will shows up, he looks like Road Rash. Hannibal looks like Road Rash. But no, like when they were taking their tickets, they're like, another day in Florence, baby. Did they sneak up the fucking fire stairs? This is a museum with priceless works of art in it.
There's bleeding. There's bleeding all over everything, you know.
Yeah.
At this point, I just expect to see like Will walk out of the museum and then just go over the hood of a car.
What is that Brad Pitt movie where he gets hit by a car so comically?
Meet Joe Black, where he bounces off of one car, then another car.
Oh man. Another movie that came out while I was working at Universal. I'm like, can we make a fucking film? What's going on? Oh boy. It was not their good luck charm. And then they walk out and Chio totally fucking shoots Will when he's about to stab Hannibal in the middle of the street. Why wait?
I guess with Chio, it's well, he's mine. You're not going to take this away from me. Except she never does. She
never fucking does. I don't.
She always like holds back at the last minute.
Explain this to me. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we kind of discussed it. Margot and Alana having hypnotic psychedelic sex, like fucking Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was less psychedelic than this episode of Hannibal.
Yeah, like this is one of the especially trippy ones.
Yeah, like there's Mandy level of orgasms happening during that sex scene. But when you think about it, like Will has really had quite a week. You visit a church overseas, you head to Castle Lecter for a repast, you arrange for a vagrant to be killed. You truss him up, by the way. Just truss him fucking up. Then you get pushed off a goddamn train. And then you meet up with your old boss, run into an old flame at a museum, and you get shot again.
That's quite a week.
And then Chio and Jack, have a meet cute in an elevator of what appears to be the Dario Argento Hotel.
Of course.
And Jack goes up. Chio's like, oops, wrong floor. And I don't know how Jack just goes, another day, another dollar. Walks into the apartment of a guy who was killed several episodes ago. And Will is trussed up at the end of a table and whispers to him, he's under the table. And then he gets fully fucking pet. I was going to say
he gets Fred Gwinn.
Takes a Fred Gwinn and wakes up. They're both high on drugs because, again, this movie, this particular episode, very druggy. And Hannibal's like, you know what? Time to warm up a pan. We're going to cut open your brain.
You're doing the
Jack always said I should get into your head. So that's what I'm going to do. And it's kind of like, man, these two just can't work it out. They can't. Why can't they just fuck? You know what I mean? Like,
just going to do the old Paul Krendler.
Yeah. And it almost happens. And then Will starts to see blood float up to the ceiling because he's high as a goddamn kite. And lo and behold, the next time we see them, they're hanging upside down in a pig truck on Mason Verger's farm.
Back again.
Right back where they started. So I don't know how you move two people trussed up upside down over multiple international borders, but I don't have Mason Verger's money, so there you go.
I just love the idea that every single police officer in Florence has been paid off, is into this, just willing to kill innocent people to get what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're gonna see more of it next step. But that's pretty much all we have. We can't play Choose Your Own Death Venture because no one actually dies within this episode, believe it or not.
Well, there are a couple of people who get the getting shot is later. Right.
Next episode. Yeah. no one actually dies. One person does get shot. I would rather not get shot. I would also not want anyone in our audience or not in our audience to.
I definitely don't want to have my head sawed into. That seems extraordinarily painful. I've had migraines. I would imagine it's a lot like that.
Yeah, I'm anti getting my head sawed into. It's not for me.
And the way that Will is acting, it's like we're responding to it. It's like, okay, how deep did this saw get in? And how is he just walking away from this? Because he's just like,
well, he is not walking away. That's part of it.
He's just seizing. He's rolling his eyes back, and it's like, okay, he's getting in there.
He's going deep. I mean, you gotta at least get into the skull cap if you want to pop that bad boy off like a prescription medicine bottle, and that's what he's going for. But he didn't get that far. But he did get back to Virginia. So there we go. We're finally back from Italy on our murder husband vacation. So that just about does it for this week. Gina, where can people find you on these here?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. I will be covering season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows. A recent review I did was of The Black Phone. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Do it today. People check it out. Of course, Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. Revenge Body does all of our music, and they have put up the entire catalog of Kill by Kill themes and remixes up at Revenge Body Memphis at bandcamp.com. If you buy the album, all of the profits are going to Memphis Choices, a local establishment that is helping women and those in need find the health care they not only need but deserve. And we're all behind this here at the Kill by Kill podcast. And if you like our music, please check that out. Also rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you can rate this podcast. We haven't had a new one in a while, so we'd love it. Join us on Patreon, where we have all sorts of cool stuff. We've got a listener's choice in the middle of the month. We don't know what that is, but it's bound to be good. We haven't had it done yet. And at the end of the month, we'll be talking Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the stripperest Halloween of all time. So far, who can say how Halloween ends? Is, maybe that's wall-to-wall strippers for all I know. Fingers crossed.
Just have after I was going to say Anthony Michael Hall, but he's dead, isn't he? His character got killed off.
Listen, maybe. Who's to say? People seem to survive a lot in that franchise.
But most of the cast was just like obliterated.
Yeah, during a giant Jackie Chan fight in the middle of the streets with a knife murderer. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, we'll be talking about that soon enough.
Yes.
So join us for that. Folks, we love you ever so much. Thank you for joining us on this Hannibal journey. Tell us how you feel about this episode of Hannibal, or tell us where you are in your Hannibal rewatch. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever socials you can discover us. And don't worry, because the body count will continue. For myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.